Broncos country, man, it is so nice to be back. I'm ecstatic to be back home from my trip, back in the lab and making videos for all you guys here on the channel, man. So what's popping, everybody? Hope you guys all having a wonderful day. It's been a long few days for me, but like I said, we're going to get right back into the Denver Broncos content, talking about this team as we approach the, OTAs coming up here in the next week or so. Got some little mini camps, off-season programs, and then a 6-week gap before training camp. And even though it seems like it's so far away, every year we already know that it sneaks up on us. And the hot topic still, everyone's talking about this draft class right now. They're talking about how there's going to be so much pressure on RJ Harvey to revive this running back room. And while that is very true, I don't think that there's a lot of need to panic. There is a ton of options that can really round out this running back room very, very well. We're going to go through all the different options, obviously, aside from RJ Harvey, and we're going to discuss each and every one of them individually. So consider subscribing to the channel, fellas. Like the video, interact with me in the comments. Let's have some fun. And for whatever reason, right when I hit record, my allergies is killing me, man. So get the scratch out of the way. All right, well, let's get into it. So, guys, we already know RJ Harvey, right? Second round pick, 60th overall. Somebody that I think we have a lot of high hopes for, and someone that I did not realize was built like an absolute tank that he is. I knew that he was a decently sized running back. When you look at him being 5'8", 208, you're like, all right, that's not really a small back. But then you see how quickly he moves, and you're like, oh, no, maybe he is an undersized back. He is not undersized, and I'm extremely excited to see, what he looks like against the veterans, what he looks like throughout camp. I think Sean Payton is ecstatic to be able to get his hands on him, and really what he looks like in the pass game too, right? Shout out to David Talks Broncos and Kodiak. They had some really great videos kind of discussing this. And yeah, I mean, I think 60 to 70 catches is the floor in terms of the amount of passes that I expect RJ Harvey to, get this year, especially considering that Javonte Williams last year had 51 catches, and he was taking like 55% of the snaps in total, maybe. But anyways, RJ Harvey is going to be the big story. But the second most important part of really rounding out this room are the guys that we currently have on this roster, starting with Audric Estime. Lots of people in Broncos country are very down on him. I can definitely understand why that's the case, especially being benched before the playoff game. I think it was probably a little bit overblown, right? Given how it all shook out. I don't think that it was merely so much that, he's in the doghouse and Sean Payton doesn't like him. I just think he felt like Tyler Bidet could maybe give a little bit more pop, and they could utilize a little bit more speed against that defense rather than physicality. And also the fumbles had a little bit to do with it, but I'm not overly looking forward to it. And I think I'm not overly kind of, gonna hound on that point too much. I'm looking forward to this upcoming season. I think everybody gets a fresh start. And I truly am. This is not me being optimistic or looking through the blue and orange lens. Like, I'm truly a believer that Audric Estime can be a very, very good complementary running back. And the reason that I'm really actually optimistic about him is because I like the type of role that he's going to need to play. He doesn't have to be RB1, so he doesn't have that pressure. He doesn't necessarily have the super well-rounded skill set. But in order to be a complement to what RJ Harvey does, I think he fits that mold super well. He can be your short yardage back in situations where you need. He can add some physicality, switch things up for you. I think he can be a very good pass protector. So we'll see. That's going to ultimately be, what determines not just his fate with this team, but the direction in which this team goes. So I'm actually really optimistic about Audric Estime. You got Jaleel McLaughlin, who I just think has probably got the lowest odds of making this final roster. I love everything about the kid, man. I love his story. I love how much heart he's got. But unfortunately, he's not really going to give you much in the pass game for a smaller back. He can't really break tackles. He doesn't really play special teams. That doesn't typically bode well for a player to make this roster. And then you also got Blake Watson. And Blake Watson's probably going to be the biggest reason why Jaleel's not going to make this roster. Blake Watson has special teams ability. He's also significantly better as a pass catcher. Didn't catch really any balls last year, but I know that because he is a former wide receiver at Memphis. that turned into a running back. So you know he can catch the ball. And he's going to be a very interesting story and player to talk about that no one's really talking about as much. We're all hung up on the Audric Estime and RJ Harvey, understandably so. But just keep an eye out for Blake Watson. Could he be somebody that could, be a true third down back that can actually offer you some pass protection as well? It's going to be another really big question mark, because if him and Audric Estime from a pass protection standpoint are similar, then watch out for Blake Watson to have a pretty significant role when it comes into this. But listen, all that being said, the right thing for this team to do is stay the course right now. Go through the mini camps, the OTAs, and see how they look, and then take it into camp. Let these guys compete. Really give them a good amount of reps and workload, and a good look into these preseason games to get a good idea of where they're at and how much that you can trust them. If you get to the point at the end where you feel like this running back room is still missing somebody that they just want to be dependable, specifically in the pass protection game, you've got somebody sitting on the streets that has a history with Sean Payton that I don't think is going to sign with a team anytime soon, in Jamal Williams, the running back that has been, he's played, in several different areas around the league, but most recently with the New Orleans Saints. Prior to that, he played a little bit with the Detroit Lions, I believe. And I know he started off his career, if I remember, with the Packers. I always get the two confused. Yeah, he started with the Packers. Then he went to the Lions for a couple of years, and then he was with the Saints. Now, yes, when he was with New Orleans, that was not with Sean Payton. Sean Payton was not the coach during those times. But there's a lot of, there are some coaches here that were with Jamal Williams there. He's obviously going to have a lot of Sean Payton's got a good idea of the type of player Jamal Williams is, not just having to game plan against him, but he's got relationships with coaches all around the league, specifically in Detroit with Dan Campbell. He played with him there. Obviously, some of the Saints coaches, came over from New Orleans. The kind of person that Jamal Williams is. And really across the league, he's known as like one of the nice guys, one of those players that teammates just seem to love. He's got a really great, bubbly personality. He's a fun player to watch, and he's always been super solid. Yes, I get it. He's 30 years old. He's, his best days are certainly behind him. But this is a player that we know can be productive when he's given the rock to be a rusher if needed. He does have some decent ability to catch it, but where he's going to add the most amount of value to this team is he is a borderline elite pass protector. Always has been throughout his entire career, starting back in his days when he started his career off with the Packers. Aaron Rodgers would glow about how reliable he was in pass pro. That carried over when he was with Detroit. So, think about when we brought Samaje Perine over a couple seasons ago to be a pass protection, a true third down back role. That's exactly what Jamal Williams can bring, and he can be very, very good at that. So not even overly concerned with that at all. And he doesn't have to tip your hand by him being on the field. And also, you're not going to expect for him to get, a whole bunch of carries and a whole bunch of wear and tear. So him being 30 years old in this particular situation is not going to be a big deal. But, you look at, let's take a look at, his kind of career stats in a nutshell first, and then we'll move over to breaking some of this down a little bit more. But I mean, you see over the course of his, what is it now, 8-year career, he's had over 1,000 carries, 4,100 yards, 3.9 average. It's a little bit lower than you'd like, but 32 touchdowns, had 187 catches for 1,300 yards, added 8 more. In over 1,000 carries, he's had 5 fumbles, 2 of them which were lost. So he's somebody that can protect the football. He's just a true veteran player, right? And as it currently stands right now, he just turned 30 years old. So he's not like unbelievably old. But again, the age is not going to be so much of a factor if you're looking for somebody to come in and fill for 1 year, right? I just never really overly care too much about that. Another thing is here too, just looking at the AI overview. He's exceptional in pass protection. It was a key asset for teams like the Packers. He's graded very, very highly on PFF. Never fell below a 76 grade in pass pro in any of the seasons that he's been mainly in that role. So what you're going to get with someone like him. Again, he's not going to be expensive. And he's not, could he sign elsewhere? It happens every year at camp. Teams see where they're at, and they want to bring in a veteran. They can do that. But Jamal Williams is going to be, right there for the taking. Should we ultimately, prefer his veteran reliability over, some of these guys that we've got in camp. But I'm not overly concerned about it. I truly believe that the running back room is going to round itself out to be very, very nice. If I had to take my guess right now, I would say the starting running back is going to be obviously RJ Harvey with Audric Estime, being as, kind of the 1B. I would say it's probably going to be 60% of the snaps are going to go to RJ, and 30 to 35% are going to go to Audric Estime. And in an ideal world where they want, obviously injuries can change that. And then, you'll sprinkle in some Blake Watson, but I do think Blake Watson is probably going to be the third guy. I like that idea. I like the room. I think that they're young, they're dynamic players. They all bring very unique skill sets to this team. And I want to continue the youth development and the youth movement that we have on the offensive side of the ball. But you always got the ability to go out there and sign yourself a veteran. Even Nick Chubb is somebody that's out there and that's available. There's always going to be veteran running backs that get cut as well. So I'm really not overly concerned about this running back room at all, to be honest with you. My big concern now, or the one thing that I feel like we need to be talking about a lot as Bronco fans, is what has Sean Payton learned about his fault and what he was to blame for in last year's abysmal rushing attack overall. Because yes, these running backs were not good. Yes, it did make Sean Payton's job a lot more difficult as a play caller, but there was a lot of things that were on him as well. The types of runs that he was calling, how he wouldn't stick with the run game in the times where he kept trying to remind himself to do so. In the games where we were actually running the ball pretty decent. This is arguably the most important positional group for the entire team that will dictate the success of the 2025 Broncos, because I'm going to make an entirely separate video about like this team and where do they need to improve and what their identity needs to be. But the biggest issue that I had with the offense, particularly last year, is that they had a complete inability to control the clock. There's a lot of factors that went into it, but the main one of all of that was their inability to run the ball and run the ball consistently. If you cannot control the clock, even in the games that you have the lead or you're trying to come back from behind, it's never going to be a good thing. Defense bailed us out a lot. And had they not, it would have been a much different type of season for this team. So we have to be able to, control the clock and be a lot better when it comes to running the football. Obviously, running the football more effectively is going to open up a lot more in the pass game as well. That you can expect. It's going to make Bo Nix's life a lot easier. He's not going to have to rely so much on his ability to extend plays or get yards with his feet. But they're in no world do Bronco fans want to see their quarterback, Bo Nix, be the second leading rusher on the football team. That is not going to be something that we can repeat and have the same success with last year. So when I made my prediction on the prediction video with the fellas a few days back, I had said 11-6 is my prediction for this team. I do believe a 1-game improvement is very feasible. I think it's a fairly conservative prediction, but I think they're gonna look like vastly different teams. Like I think last year we weren't a very good 10-7 team. Yes, we had some wins that some losses that were crushing. Right? You talk about the loss to obviously the blocked field goal with Kansas City. You talk about the 2 losses against the Chargers. Play here or there, they can go different ways. But on the flip side, there was also some wins that we had kind of stolen, right? You think about Jonathan Taylor and him fumbling the football before, and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like things really balance themselves out, but we were not a 10-7 team that overly scared a lot of teams. We kind of made it easy for teams to game plan against us, but we were just able, in some situations to make enough plays to be able to win it. Or also just rely on an extremely dominant and opportunistic defense. That was the big thing too, is not only was our defense very, very good last year, but in a lot of those key games, man, they just made big plays that ultimately tilted the game in our favor. But we were not that impressive of a football team last year when you go back and look at it. However, that's not to take away from the fact that it was an unbelievably successful season. It was very exciting, but I do expect for this Broncos team, specifically the offense, to take a massive leap forward in 2025. That does start with Bo Nix being in his second year in the league, second year with the Sean Payton offense. I love the Evan Ingram addition. I love the I love the draft pick of Pat Bryant and the addition that he's going to bring to the team. And also you expect Vele to take another step and be better, right? You expect for Troy Franklin to take another step and be better. There's no doubt about it. But I do expect that Audric Estime will absolutely take a massive leap forward. I think he's going to be a very solid RB2 for this team, or you can call him, 1B. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the 1-2 punch with RJ Harvey and Audric Estime is going to be. And guys, I know I've said this a million times. Let's not forget the fact that Audric Estime literally just turned 21 years old. Well, I wouldn't say just. I was confusing him and Jamal Williams. He turned 21 last September. So he's 20. He was drafted when he was 20. He's going to be starting this season at 21 years old. RJ Harvey is 2.5 years older than him. Right. So this is an extremely young player, someone that I think really could have benefited from going another year in college. And if he ended up building on the year that he had in Notre Dame last season, I think he would have been drafted around the same spot, maybe even a little bit sooner than where he was in this loaded running back draft class. He was very, very highly sought after, someone that teams really liked. And I did see some flashes on the film. I did an entire film review with him that I really liked. I think his second level vision is really good. I think his vision in general is very good. He just had he was thinking too much. There was too many things that kind of rattled him, right? The fumble on the first carry of the season, even though we ultimately recovered it, I think that was constantly living in his head. And then he gets injured for 4 weeks and he comes back. He has another fumble and a blowout win. And after that, you can just tell he was thinking too much about ball security. I think it's something that you can certainly get past. I think ball security is not going to be a big issue for him moving forward. And once he can start to play free, you guys are going to see some really good things from Audric Estime, man. I liked what I saw from him quite a bit. I really did. But super excited to see, man, the kind of roles that he take. And maybe we're putting too much stock into this whole pass protection thing, right? Sean Payton was talked about it in one of the pressers after rookie minicamp, and he had said, it's going to be up to us to not put these guys in bad situations when it comes to pass pro as well, right? You can offset a lot of what their responsibilities are as a pass protector by simply having the right scheme, right? There's going to be moments where you are going to have one-on-one with a free blitzer or one-on-one with maybe one of the elite, linebackers or, edge rushers in the league. That's inevitable. But if you can limit that as much as you can, it's not going to be that big of a deal. So we'll see how they end up handling it. But I'm excited, man. I love the idea of an Audric Estime, RJ Harvey backfield. I think they bring such a unique 1-2 punch. RJ Harvey's got that explosion, but he's got some power. He's got crazy lateral ability and agility and ability to really get upfield. And Audric Estime is just a one-cut go type of guy. And so we will really be able to churn out the clock with those two guys. I'm looking forward to it, man. I want to know what you guys think. How do you ultimately think this Broncos running back room is going to shape out? Let me know below in the comments. Y'all take care of yourselves, man. Congrats to all those graduating today. And until the next video, peace.